I just want to take a few minutes and visit with you briefly about, I've been getting these newsletters for a while, and the last one that I read, it was just seemed to very quickly and succinctly kind of encapsulate the big controversy over property tax reform.
Right.
And I'm here today just basically to interview you a little bit about that. And our members, I'm Andrew Lietzel with the Iowa Landlord Association. I'm here today with Speaker Paulsen and with his wife Kathy and Josie and Joe Kelly. And I thought we'd give you an opportunity to help our members better understand what your position might be and what their position maybe should be. Because a lot of them are commercial, multifamily owners, but others, I think the single-family group that rents property, they tend to be a little afraid of the property tax reform. So if you could just take a few minutes and kind of lay that out for us, what your perspective is.
First of all, we have the third highest, that is the state of Iowa has the third highest commercial property taxes in the nation, the 16th highest residential property taxes in the nation. Clearly we think that that's entirely unacceptable, something we need to work on. Doing nothing also is going to be one of the largest tax increases in the history of the state of Iowa. As the rollback has turned into the roll-up, you're looking at a steady 4% increase in residential property taxes for the foreseeable future, and that's without a change in assessments, and that's without a change in levy rates. And right now we're seeing those go up as well across the state. So when you combine all that together, the projections are that over the next 10 years we could see roughly a $2 billion tax increase. So doing nothing is not an option. So what we've articulated, and we in this case House Republicans, we've articulated is that we're open to whatever discussion addresses the issue. We're open to any public policy conversation anybody wants to have, but kind of our criteria is whatever ends up being enacted and on the governor's desk is going to have to conform to a couple principles, and they are simply, first of all, it needs to be something of consequence. If it doesn't mean anything to the taxpayer, then it doesn't mean anything. We're not interested in passing a bill that all it does is permit us to run around the state patting ourselves on the back. That doesn't accomplish anything. It needs to be something that's predictable and something that the taxpayer can rely on. It's something that an employer can put into their business model and make decisions based on. Not something that may be there, may not be there. So that's important to us. And lastly, we think it needs to address all classifications of property. We're happy to provide an emphasis to commercial property because clearly being the third highest in the nation is not making it easier to be an employer in the state of Iowa. And that's, we're very concerned about that. So given those principles, what we've laid out is an effort for the state to buy down some portion of the school foundation formula. That's the part of the per pupil funding for each student across the state. Right now it runs at about $6,000 a student. It's a little bit over that. Does not include a whole lot of other levies. Does not include federal dollars. It does not include the income surtax. It doesn't include any of those things. Just that foundation formula piece. And that last 12.5% is levied against the property taxpayers across the state. And it varies from school district to school district. And so what we've suggested is, hey, let's buy that down. And as we do that, that would be, if we were to absorb it all, it's a little bit over a 10% income, or excuse me, a 10% property tax reduction across the state of Iowa. That addresses.
And that's the House Republican.
Correct.
platform.
And that's what we've laid out as kind of, let's look at this. We're not married to that. We're more than happy to throw in other things. The governor's put forth a proposal that has uniform application to commercial property taxes across the state, and that is it buys down their taxable valuation. Right now, as you know, commercial property basically pays, if you got a $100,000 piece of property, you're paying taxes on $100,000. With homes, of course, that's not true because we have the rollback. So this would interject that rollback into commercial property, and his proposal is to buy it down 20% over the next handful of years. It also would limit how fast residential property could go up. It also links the different classifications of property together. We think that's an interesting idea and something that should be rolled in and have a conversation about. The Senate Democrats have put forth a proposal that's largely based on tax credits. Similar, it's a little bit different, but very similar to the way the homestead exemption works across the state, only this would be a commercial property tax exemption, or credit rather.
but only effective up to $324,000 in valuation.
That is correct. It's only up.
Well, that doesn't include.
That excludes,
a lot of our members are not included in
that.
That
excludes a whole lot of small business owners in the state of Iowa. Clearly, they're trying to focus on small business. We're happy to have a conversation about a method to do that too, but this does not. This does not do that entirely. It leaves out a whole lot of small business owners across the state of Iowa. I mean, if nothing else, all those small business owners that are sitting there with a triple net lease, I mean, they're excluded from this. So we're open to having that conversation. We're going to work towards a solution, but we have very serious concerns about that. The other concern we have about that particular proposal is the fact that it is a tax credit, and the history of the Iowa legislature is very, very poor on funding tax credits. In fact, for the first time this year, we're going to fully fund or I should say for the first time in over a decade, we're going to fully fund the homestead credit. Well, if we haven't been fully funding the homestead credit, I don't know, what makes us think we're going to have a good record doing a commercial property tax credit? So we have concerns about that. The other piece that gives us a little bit of pause is it only takes effect if state government has 4% growth in revenue. If you look historically over the last 20 years, that's only happened 10 times. So the roll-in that they built into their proposal, I believe, if I remember correctly, is 5 years. The real effect of that is it's more like a 10-year roll-in. Well, we need to be more aggressive than that. Looking at $250 million over 10 years when at the same time we're staring at a multi-billion-dollar tax increase, it seems that we need to be able to do something a little bit better than that. So, but that having been said, we have not drawn lines in the sand. We want to work towards a solution. We want to get something on the governor's desk. We want to get something enacted this year that helps out the property taxpayers of the state.
That sounds great. We got kind of close last year. The House voted something out, got a bill out. Senate got close but missed by 2 votes.
Correct.
Jack Hatch and Robert Hogue or something voted.
That's
voted against it, and I never have been able to pull out of Joe what were those 2 no votes about.
You'd have to ask them or ask somebody in the Senate.
That's what they keep telling me. I have to go ask them, but
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure not going to speak for them. We're very very disappointed that the preceding 2 years, House Republicans had passed 4 different bills over to the Senate. One of them was actually a Senate file that they'd sent to us. We debated their bill, we amended their bill, and sent that back. So 4 bills, actually 5 different proposals, because we had their proposal plus the amendment. And regrettably, when we ended at the end of the 84th General Assembly meeting last session, all of those were sitting in the Senate. We were very disappointed we didn't get something done there. And then they brought up one last final proposal and weren't able to pass it over to us for whatever reason. That was extremely disappointing.
Well, I don't know about the rest of our membership. I just know from a point of view of the people that call me and have concerns about this or that happening in the law, and then we've got some legislation on the Hill this year that's all passed out of committee. But I find that the news media that doesn't really do the common citizen much good at being involved in the legislative process at all. In fact, I had only 3 questions. You've already answered the first one about property tax reform. The second one is kind of for left field, and maybe it's okay to ask us or not, but this is an interesting quote.
It's all okay to ask.
I'm just saying, swing voters are more appropriately known as the idiot voters because they have no set of philosophical principles. By the age of 14, you're either a conservative or a liberal if you have an IQ above a toaster. Now that's an Ann Coulter statement, and I found that and I thought that's one of the things that's wrong. And one of the things that keeps people out of being actively involved, even for their own selves and their governance, is that somehow in our election process we alienate people and we bifurcate people, and you're either a Democrat or a Republican, and then the day afterwards we set them to the challenge and the goal of governing. And now all of a sudden you're supposed to put all that partisan stuff aside and let's get back to the challenge of governance. But it seems the people want to stay stuck in the rut of let's keep fighting the political battles. When we really have serious issues that need to be addressed, And it's like I'm trying to motivate people to contact their representatives, and it just seems like people have lost interest. And of course, maybe that's always been that way. I don't know. But how do you get people to get engaged again? I guess.
I don't know that I have any profound answer on how to make that happen. I will tell you this, and the comment that I've made in the past. It's no different than if you have a garden. If you got a garden and you go plant your seeds and you don't show up for several months later, don't be surprised when you show up and all you've got is weeds instead of produce. Well, it's the same thing with government. If all you do is show up on election day and don't show up again for the next 2 years, don't be surprised when you kind of got out of your government what you put into it. I mean, this is a republic, and we're sent here to work on behalf of the people. And granted, if everyone wanted to be involved at the same level that I am involved or the other members are involved, then they'd run for public office. They expect us to do their work. But I always challenge folks, pay attention to what we're doing. Let us know what you think. It's extremely important. And I will also tell you that the Iowa General Assembly is still a legislative body that when Iowans engage, they can move us. If they don't engage, then we kind of sit down here and think we understand everything. And sometimes maybe we, as a body, of course, personally, I'm never confused, but as a body, we occasionally, maybe lose the proper vision. I will tell you, I also think that's one of the reasons why it's extremely important that the members of this legislative body go home on a regular basis and meet with their constituents. I think it's very important that we not come down to Des Moines and camp out inside this building and only talk to ourselves. We need to re-engage with Iowans on a regular basis and on a thoughtful basis, but we absolutely need people to be involved.
Just from watching the 2 hours of floor debate yesterday, it's like watching C-SPAN, but on a state level. And you can tell that everybody is working hard to represent their constituents. I don't care if they're Democrat or Republican. It seemed like everybody was trying to engage and understand the issues. We really, of course, marvel to get things done because there's so much differences. There's a great deal of diversity even in Iowa on these different issues. And then on the property tax reform bill in particular, even within our group, we have a broad spectrum of rental property owners. Some are afraid that if we get commercial property tax relief for the multifamilies, that somehow that burden is going to shift to the single-family rental property owners. And so talk to me just again about that. How is that going to change, do you think, in rental residential property?
That is exactly one of the reasons why we have consistently advocated for a position that includes all classifications of property. Because if you ignore the other classifications, then that potential exists. So, again, putting an emphasis on one or the other, I mean, you can articulate some pretty good public policy reasons for doing that. But if you ignore the others, then that can cause quite a few issues, and that's also why
the detriment. If you give reductions all to the commercial and to the detriment of the farmers, that isn't going to fly.
And that is exactly why the proposal we put includes all classifications, and we chose the position to start out with. Treats everybody equally. It's as simple, it's fair, so that's the reason why we put forth that proposal. Again, willing to discuss whatever anybody brings to the table, but that's what we brought to the table. The other piece that I think is very important is a piece in the governor's proposal that talks about the roll-up, where right now property taxes cannot go up any more than 4% per year. Or I should say the taxable value cannot go up any more than 4% in any one given year on a piece of residential property.
Is that fairly new?
No, that's been in code a long time. The proposal is to take that 4% to 2%. That is a very positive long-term impact. In his proposal, it also includes commercial and agriculture. It has a very positive impact across the board, the way he has put forth that proposal. But definitely provides a long-term positive effect for residential property.
Well, then my closing question,
Yes.
make this somewhat brief, is it wouldn't be right at all that I'd come and not ask about something that's really more particular. Yesterday in our floor debate that was held on the House floor, one of our bills was the number one on the list, but didn't make it to be debated. And that, of course, kind of caught us off guard. And we're trying to understand the inner workings and hidden mechanisms of caucusing and all that. How do we engage? Like I said, we're encouraging our members to reach out to the representatives and say this is important. And I was kind of surprised to see the Iowa League of Cities is actually supporting the Republican position.
Yes.
On the tax reform.
Yep.
And that I found that interesting. Iowans for Tax Relief and the Iowa League of Cities are somehow together on that.
It's not very often that they align.
No,
but
that would be. Yeah, it seemed a little unusual there. And the Iowa Farm Bureau is also for it.
Correct.
So how could we get people united around House File 184?
I think that's a conversation that we'll have to have among the members, and that just happens from time to time. A bill's on the debate calendar, and either waiting on an amendment or there's some other concern, gets delayed.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it happens all the time. But there are some very, very important bills that were brought up yesterday. The tax reform bill that.
We're very excited about the income tax relief bill.
The flat tax.
Yes, and what that does is it leaves the current income tax code in place as it's written, exactly like it is today. But it also provides an alternative income tax code where it is a 4.5% flat tax. It eliminates the bottom two brackets. And also eliminates deductions, but the key is that the taxpayer can look at that and say, this one serves me and my family best, or this one serves me and my family best, and they can pick whichever serves them best. We think that it does a lot of different things, but again, it's simpler, it's fair. We think that's a good way to move forward on that question. We also think it creates a great optic for the state of Iowa across the nation. That people can look to Iowa and go, this is reasonable. And we can go there. Let's as an employer, let's invest in that state. Those types of things. We also just think that sends a very positive message.
That's on the 4.5% on adjusted gross income. Is that
correct?
Right?
That's correct.
I think that sounds pretty simplified to me. Your tax return could be sent in on a postcard.
Yes, it could.
Almost.
Absolutely.
Would we be for that? We'd probably be for that, wouldn't we? I mean, at least for the option. That sounds very good. Well, I wonder. Joe? Did you have anything I should have?
No, I think you've done a good job. I think we should probably not overstay our welcome.
Yeah.
All right.
We sure appreciate your time.
Appreciate you stopping by.
Okay. Thank you so much.